Dr. Christopher Sabine. I'm a professor of oceanography at the University of Hawaii, and I have been doing oceanography research for the last 25 years. I got my PhD actually here in Hawaii, but then went back to the mainland and went to work for NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And that was really great. The problem is the federal government is really good at monitoring issues and trying to better understand them. But I really wanted to find a solution to climate change. And that's something that is better done in an academic environment. So I was very interested to come back and become a professor here to share what I had learned over my 25 years of being a scientist, and also to try and do something to help find a solution to climate change. So I came back out to Hawaii because we have coral reefs here, and they are some of the most heavily impacted by ocean acidification. The burning of fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, where it affects global warming and climate change. But the oceans absorb some of that carbon dioxide, and what we found is that carbon dioxide is also harmful to the marine organisms, particularly those that produce shells like clams, oysters, and coral reefs. So I came to Hawaii to study the coral reefs and see if there was a way that we can try and save them from the carbon dioxide that we're introducing into the oceans. Right now we're out on Coconut Island. This is an island owned by the University of Hawaii, Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology. And this is where we study different organisms. It's right out in the middle of a bay that's surrounded by corals and full of interesting organisms. And so there's a lot of coral research that goes on here. We can take corals just from a few hundred yards offshore, bring them into the laboratory and look at the effect of elevated temperatures on them, or expose them to high CO2 so we can see how ocean acidification affects the corals. What I'm doing here is trying to work with the biologists, so we have chemists and biologists working side by side to try and understand exactly how the chemistry affects the organisms and how we can potentially reverse that. There are two approaches we're taking. One is to see if there are types of corals that are more resistant to the changes that we're experiencing, the higher CO2, the warmer temperatures. We can do that through selective breeding, where you expose a group of corals to these conditions. Many of them will die, but a few will live. So we try and selectively breed those that live so that there are more hardy species. The other approach is to reduce the other stresses on corals that we can control. So global ocean acidification and coral bleaching from climate change, those are global problems and very difficult to control at a local level. But the effect of tourists on the coral reefs, having fewer tourists that are stepping on the reefs, not allowing the tourists to wear sunscreens that affect the corals, controlling pollution that comes off of the land, those are all local problems that we can reduce here in the Hawaiian Islands that perhaps would allow the corals to better adapt to global problems that we can't control as effectively, like ocean acidification. I'd say the most rewarding thing is an opportunity to get out and experience the coral reefs and see the impact that we're having in trying to restore them and to save them. And then also working with students and the public to help to educate them to better understand the impact that each and every one of us are having on our environment and on the corals, and just to see people respond and say, okay, you know, let's do something about this. That's very rewarding for me, to see people respond and want to make a difference.